Let me ask you something that no one dares to ask out loud. Are you really happy? Or are you just distracted enough to ignore the ache? Because here's the uncomfortable truth most of us don't want to face. We've mastered the art of staying busy, scrolling, buying, achieving, fixing, organizing. But under it all, there's this quiet whisper in your chest. Something's missing, not in a dramatic way, not a breakdown or a crisis, just that quiet, unsettling feeling, the kind that shows up at red lights, in the middle of a smile, right before sleep. You tell yourself you're lucky, you count your blessings, you work hard, you have plans, you laugh at memes, but something about it all feels thin, like you're living your life just a few degrees off, present but not fully alive, grateful but not truly at peace. And listen, you're not broken, you're just human. We've been taught to chase happiness like it's a finish line. Get the job, find the person, lose the weight, make the money, and then what? We hit the goals, we tick the boxes, but the feeling doesn't stick. We smile for the photo, then scroll away. What if the problem isn't you, but the map you were given? What if happiness isn't something you achieve, but something you become? Let me walk with you for a while, not as a guru, not as a fixer, just someone who sat in the same confusion, who's asked the same late-night questions. In this story, we won't talk about toxic positivity or forced gratitude. We'll talk about the real stuff, the muddy, beautiful, often messy path to becoming someone who is quietly, genuinely happy. Not perfectly, but honestly. You ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The illusion of more, minimalism of the mind. The lie we're sold, more equals better. Isn't it strange how we've been wired to believe that more is always better? More money, more success, more things, more people, more followers, more time. Somehow we've equated more with happiness. We've built entire systems around this belief. More equals better, right? Yet when we actually get the more, it rarely leads to lasting happiness. Instead, it just creates a new set of problems. Problems that didn't even exist before we got what we thought we wanted. It's like we're all running on a treadmill, hoping that one more step will magically get us closer to joy. And just when we think we're about to catch up to happiness, poof, it's moved further down the path. Ever notice how you get something, and for a second it feels great? Maybe it's a new gadget, a promotion, a shiny new car. But after a few days, or even a few hours, you start thinking, now what? More is always just a little out of reach. It keeps you going, but never quite delivers the peace you thought it would. Dopamine loops, the endless chase. Here's where it gets tricky. You see, the brain doesn't care if the more is even good for you. It just likes the reward. And the reward in this case is dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. Dopamine drives us to pursue things that we believe will bring us pleasure or satisfaction. It's like a tiny burst of excitement each time we get what we want. But here's the catch. Dopamine doesn't actually care about long-term satisfaction. It's a quick hit, and then, bam, it's gone, leaving you wanting more. So we start chasing after the next burst of dopamine. The next thing, another coffee, another like, another purchase, another idea. We're conditioned to crave the next reward, without realizing that it's never enough to fill the deeper, quieter ache inside. This constant chase creates a cycle. It's why you get that post-shopping high only to feel empty again an hour later. It's why you scroll through social media knowing full well it won't make you feel better, but hoping that it might for just a few minutes. Attachment is suffering, a Buddhist perspective. Now, let's take a little detour into Buddhist philosophy. You might have heard the idea that attachment is suffering. It's one of the Four Noble Truths that Buddha taught. What does it mean, though? It's simple. The more attached you are to things, people, ideas, or even outcomes, the more you'll suffer when they change or fade away. Because the only thing you can rely on in life is change. Think about it. When you attach your happiness to getting a promotion or having the perfect relationship, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The promotion might come, but then you'll find yourself wondering, is this it? What's next? Or the perfect relationship might unravel, and suddenly you're left with that familiar emptiness again. The man who owned everything yet felt hollow. Let me share a story that brings this idea to life. Imagine a man who worked his entire life to accumulate wealth and possessions. He climbed the corporate ladder, bought a house with a pool, drove an expensive car, and filled his home with the finest things money could buy. He had everything, but one day, as he sat on the balcony of his luxurious home, staring at the vast horizon, he felt something deep inside him, a quiet ache. His thoughts began to churn. I have everything. Why don't I feel fulfilled? It wasn't until later, in a conversation with a friend, that he realized the truth. He had been living with the belief that more would solve everything, but more only gave him more distractions, more things to care about, and more anxiety about keeping it all. What he had failed to see was that happiness isn't found in accumulation. It's found in simplicity, in letting go of the belief that happiness is tied to external things, in realizing that peace and joy were never things to chase, they were things to be. Happiness begins with less. Here's the paradox. The more you let go, the more space you create for joy. When you simplify your life, when you stop filling every moment with distractions, you begin to experience the subtle, deeper satisfaction that's always been there. You start to notice the small things, the way the sun feels on your skin, the sound of your breath, the quiet moments with a friend. These are the moments that hold true happiness, but they can't compete with the constant bombardment of more. This is the heart of minimalism, not just in your physical space, but in your mind. It's about focusing on what truly matters and letting go of everything that doesn't. When you clear the clutter, both outside and inside, you create room for the things that will genuinely nourish you. Takeaway: happiness often begins with less. Chapter 2. You are not your thoughts. Freedom begins here. The voice that won't shut up. You ever try to sit in silence for a few minutes? Not doom scrolling, not texting, not planning your week, just sitting, breathing, doing nothing. Chances are your brain didn't like it. It probably started shouting things like, "This is a waste of time. I should be doing something productive. What am I even doing with my life? I forgot to send that email. What if something goes wrong?" That, right there, that non-stop voice, is the very thing keeping most people from happiness. And here's the twist. That voice isn't you. You are not the voice. You are the one who hears it. Let that sink in. Your thoughts aren't you. They're mental weather, passing clouds, static on the radio. You are not the storm. You're the sky. You are not the noise. You're the listener. Most people never learn this. They go their entire lives believing that their thoughts are true. Every self-criticism, every anxiety spiral, every imagined disaster. They don't realize that their mind is just doing what it's designed to do. Think endlessly, obsessively, relentlessly. But just because the mind is loud doesn't mean it's right. Overthinking, the thief of peace. Here's the thing about overthinking. It feels like you're doing something important, like you're working through things. But more often than not, you're just recycling the same 5 anxious thoughts on a loop. It's mental clutter, and it steals peace one overanalyzed moment at a time. You'll catch yourself thinking, what if I said the wrong thing? What if they think I'm annoying? What if I mess up again? What if something goes wrong tomorrow? And on it goes. Overthinking doesn't solve problems. It just convinces you that danger is everywhere and that you're always one step away from disaster. But here's a radical idea. You don't have to believe every thought you think. Meditation, a mirror for the mind. Let's talk about the tool no one wants to use but everyone needs. Meditation. Now, before you roll your eyes and scroll past, listen. We're not talking about becoming a monk or sitting cross-legged on a mountain in total silence for days. We're talking about 5 minutes of breathing and noticing. That's it. Why? Because when you sit with your thoughts instead of running from them, something magical happens. You see how repetitive your mind is. You realize how much fear it carries. You notice the same narrative showing up again and again. And most importantly, you begin to create distance between you and the noise. That space is freedom. That space is where peace starts to enter. Buddhist metaphor, the muddy water settles. There's an old Buddhist metaphor that goes like this. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you shake it constantly, the water stays cloudy. But if you set it down and let it be, the mud begins to settle. And soon the water becomes clear. That's your mind. When you're constantly reacting, rushing, checking your phone, numbing with Netflix, over-analyzing, your mind stays muddy. But when you sit in stillness, even briefly, it begins to clear. You begin to see your thoughts instead of being swept away by them. You begin to observe without reacting, and from there, you can choose how to respond. Practical practice. Sit and watch. You don't need incense or mantras or perfect posture. You need presence. Here's a simple practice. 1. Sit comfortably. Don't stress about posture. Just sit. 2. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. 3. Notice your thoughts. Don't push them away. Let them come. 4. Now observe. Imagine sitting in a theater, watching your mind like a movie. 5. Every time you get pulled into a thought, return. Come back to your breath. That's it. You don't need to stop thinking. You just need to realize you are not your thoughts. This small shift, done daily, rewires everything. You stop reacting to every worry. You stop chasing validation. You start noticing when your mind is trying to scare you. And instead of freaking out, you smile and say, I see you, but I'm not going with you today. Freedom begins here. When you realize you're not your thoughts, something profound happens. You stop identifying with every fear. You stop believing every inner critic. You start responding instead of reacting. You stop needing everything to go right to feel peace. This is real freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to live with yourself, quietly, gently, clearly. Because when your mind stops being your enemy, happiness can finally find a place to land. Chapter 3. Let go or be dragged. Holding on hurts more than letting go. Have you ever tried holding on to something too tightly? A relationship, a memory, a grudge, only to find that the tighter you clutched it, the more it drained you. Letting go sounds simple. People say it like it's the easiest thing in the world. Just let it go. Move on. Don't think about it. But here's what most people never admit. Letting go isn't a decision. It's a process. And sometimes that process feels like tearing Velcro from your soul. Because we don't just hold on to people or things. We hold on to stories, narratives that shape our identity. They betrayed me. I failed. I should have known better. This shouldn't have happened. I deserved more. These thoughts become part of us. And as much as they hurt, we're afraid to release them. Because then what are we without them? But here's the truth. What you cling to defines the limits of your peace. And nothing steals happiness more efficiently than a mind trapped in the past. The past isn't meant to be a place you live. Let's say that again. The past is meant to be a reference point, not a residence. Yet many people pitch a tent in yesterday's pain. They replay conversations. They imagine different outcomes. They open the wound every day just to remind themselves it's still there. Here's the thing. Your mind will try to convince you that holding on protects you. If I let go, they'll win. If I forgive, I'm weak. If I move on, it means it didn't matter. But no, letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. It means you matter more than staying stuck. It means you're finally choosing peace over punishment. Buddhist parable, the man with the hot coal. There's a well-known Buddhist parable. A man, angry at someone who wronged him, picks up a burning coal to throw at the other person. But as he holds the coal, waiting, fuming, aiming, he burns his own hand. That's what resentment is. You think you're hurting them, you're only hurting yourself. Same with guilt, same with regret, same with shame. You think you need to keep holding it to stay in control. But the longer you hold it, the more it consumes you. You can't carry that weight and be happy. You have to choose. Emotional honesty. It's okay to feel everything, but you don't have to cling. Let's be clear, letting go doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. You're allowed to feel deeply, messily, humanly, cry, rage, grieve. But don't become the pain, feel it, then release it. There's a massive difference between feeling your emotions and living inside them. Happiness isn't pretending you're okay all the time. It's learning how to ride the waves without drowning in them. And here's the wild part. When you stop resisting your feelings, they pass through you faster. You don't stay stuck. You don't get dragged. Letting go is not weakness. It's strength. It takes courage to let go of what hurt you. It takes maturity to stop replaying old battles. And it takes strength to say, this thing broke me, but it will not define me. Letting go doesn't erase what happened. It rewrites your relationship to what happened. It gives you back your power. It opens space for joy to re-enter. Daily practice. Let one small thing pass. Let's make it real. Start small. Each day, find one small thing to let go of. A comment that annoyed you. A mistake you made. A fear you've been rehearsing. A person you've been trying to impress. A thought that keeps looping in your mind. Don't try to fix it. Don't fight it. Just say, I see you. I hear you. But I'm not carrying you today. Letting go is like unclenching a fist you didn't realize was tight. It's a practice, a softening, a return. You are allowed to begin again. Maybe no one told you this, but you're allowed to begin again. You're allowed to put down the guilt. You're allowed to release the need for closure. You're allowed to grow beyond who you were when you got hurt. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means no longer allowing that moment to define who you are now. And who are you now? Someone ready for peace. Someone learning what happiness actually feels like. Someone choosing not to be dragged anymore. Chapter 4. Learn the art of enough. The hidden prison of not enough. Let's be real. Most of us live in a constant low-level panic that we're somehow not enough. Not successful enough. Not attractive enough. Not smart, rich, young, spiritual, productive, or interesting enough. We wear a smile, post our highlights, grind through our days. But deep down, there's that quiet voice whispering, if only I had a little more, then I'd be okay. More time, more energy, more love, more money, more approval. So we hustle, we overthink, we strive, and with each new milestone, we move the goalpost again. But here's the twist. Happiness doesn't come when you finally have more. It comes when you finally say, this is enough. I am enough. Comparison is a thief, wearing a friendly face. Let's talk about the most socially acceptable form of suffering, comparison. We do it all the time, often without realizing. You're feeling good until you see someone your age buying a house. You love your job. Until you see your friend start a business. You were proud of your body. Until that influencer showed up. You were fine with your day. Until you scrolled for 10 seconds. And just like that, peace slips away. Because comparison convinces you that you're behind. That someone else is living a fuller, richer, shinier version of life. And you missed the boat. But what if no one is actually ahead? What if it's not a race? Imagine walking through a beautiful forest. Would you compare one tree to another and say, that pine is clearly more successful than that oak? Of course not. You'd just appreciate the uniqueness of each one. So why not extend that same grace to yourself? The chase for more is the root of burnout. Burnout doesn't just come from overworking. It comes from never feeling like you're enough. Even when you're resting, part of your mind is still racing. You should be doing more. You're falling behind. Don't get too comfortable. This inner pressure doesn't produce peace. It produces anxiety, fatigue, and disconnection. And ironically, the more you chase, the more you forget why you were chasing in the first place. Buddhist wisdom, contentment is the greatest wealth. There's a teaching in Buddhism that says, health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, and faithfulness the best relationship. Notice that? Contentment, not more, is the greatest wealth. Not contentment born from passivity, but from awareness, from understanding the truth. Nothing outside you can complete you. You're already whole. But it's noisy out there, so it's easy to forget. The world will never stop shouting, you need more. You are lacking. You're not there yet. But your heart, it only ever whispers, be here. This is enough. Journal reflection. What is truly enough for me? Here's a gentle challenge. Grab a notebook or just sit with this question. What does enough look like for me? Not society's version, not your parents' version, not Instagram's version, your version. How much is enough income to live well and breathe easy? What kind of relationships feel nourishing, not impressive but real? What does a good day feel like? Not productive but satisfying? What's your definition of success? Not flashy but peaceful. This is where happiness begins, in knowing when to stop reaching and start receiving. Reclaiming peace by declaring enough. Saying enough is radical in a culture that profits from your dissatisfaction. It's a rebellion, a reclaiming. It doesn't mean giving up. It means getting clear. Clear about what matters. Clear about what drains you. Clear about where joy quietly lives. And once you find that clarity, you'll notice something strange and beautiful. You don't feel like you're missing anything. You don't feel like you're behind. You don't feel like you're failing. You feel grounded, present, enough. You're already closer than you think. There's a moment, a very quiet one, that arrives when you stop striving and start being. You look around. You take a deep breath. And suddenly the ordinary feels holy. The tea tastes better. The light feels warmer. The silence isn't empty. It's sacred. And your heart? It's no longer craving more. It's finally resting. And that, my friend, is where happiness begins to rise. Chapter 5. Presence is happiness in disguise. The place you forgot to look. Let's get something out of the way. Most people aren't unhappy because their lives are terrible. They're unhappy because they're rarely actually in their lives. They're stuck in their heads, living 3 steps ahead or 5 steps behind, replaying old mistakes, anticipating future problems, building imaginary arguments, scrolling through curated realities. You're not broken. You're just absent from the moment you're living in. And presence? Presence is what makes a simple life feel rich. Presence is what turns just a day into a moment you'll remember forever. Here's the thing. Happiness doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it looks like a cup of tea you actually taste. Anxiety lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. There's a Buddhist teaching that says, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. That one hits, doesn't it? Because most of our emotional suffering isn't rooted in what's happening right now. It's in what we're remembering or predicting. Right now, this second, you're probably okay. Not perfect, not euphoric, but breathing, alive. Here, if you stop reading for just a moment and really feel this second, there's a softness there, a quiet, a warmth. That's presence. And most people miss it completely. The small joys are the real joys. You don't need a tropical vacation or a new wardrobe to feel happy. What you need is the ability to fully experience what's already around you. Try this. Next time you eat, eat slowly. Taste everything. No screens. When you shower, feel the warmth. Notice the sound of the water. When someone's talking to you, don't just wait to respond. Actually, listen. When the wind brushes your face, pause for 1 second and receive it. Simple, yes. Easy, surprisingly not. But this is where happiness hides, in the small, easily missed moments that most of us rush through on our way to something better. Zen wisdom. When walking, just walk. There's an old Zen teaching. When walking, walk. When eating, eat. It sounds silly at first, too obvious. But think about how often you do one thing while thinking about 10 others. Eating lunch while checking emails. Showering while mentally rehearsing tomorrow's tasks. Talking to someone while refreshing your notifications. Multitasking isn't a sign of intelligence. It's a symptom of disconnection. And that disconnection? It's what keeps you from joy. You don't need more things. You need more presence in the things you already have. Story: the woman who found peace washing dishes. There's a story of a woman, let's call her Mira, who went on a silent retreat. No talking, no phones, just her, herself, and the basics. At first, she hated it. She fidgeted, checked her watch, and counted the days. But then, one evening, while washing her plate in warm water, she felt something shift. She noticed the slipperiness of the soap, the steam rising, the light hitting the bubbles, the simple motion of her hands. And for the first time in a long time, she felt calm. No noise, no rush, no guilt, just a moment, and she was in it. She later said that washing that plate changed her life, because in that small act she discovered a doorway to peace she didn't know was there. Daily practice. The 5 senses reset. Here's something practical you can do anytime, anywhere. The 5 senses reset. 1. Look, what's one thing in front of you that you've never really seen before? 2. Listen. What sounds are in the background? Near, far, subtle. 3. Feel. What's the temperature on your skin? The texture under your hands? 4. Smell. Is there a scent in the air? Food, nature? 5. Taste. Even if you're not eating, what's the taste in your mouth? This simple grounding exercise brings you home to your body and your moment. Do it throughout the day, especially when your mind starts racing or spiraling. Presence is a habit, and like any habit, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Why we resist the present. Let's be honest, it's not that we can't be present. It's that we're afraid of what we might feel if we are, because being present means turning off the noise. And turning off the noise means facing silence, stillness, ourselves. But here's the miracle hidden inside that discomfort. When you sit with what's real instead of running from it, your body relaxes, your mind stops shouting, and happiness, small, quiet, gentle, begins to rise from places you never expected. Happiness is the taste of now. Here's the secret most people don't figure out until much later. You don't find happiness out there. You find it when you return to what's already here. Let's take a breath together. Right now, wherever you are, pause for a moment. Put down your thoughts. Let go of the race. Forget the list, the labels, the lifelong striving, and just be here. Feel that? That stillness, that's you. That's where happiness begins. Not out there. Not in some better version of your life, but here, quietly waiting underneath all the noise. You were never broken. Maybe no one told you this, but I will. You were never broken. You've just been busy surviving in a world that keeps telling you you're not enough, that you're behind, that happiness is some distant thing to earn, but it's not. Happiness isn't a reward for doing everything right. It's a state of remembering that you are allowed to rest, that you are allowed to feel joy for no reason, that you don't need to fix yourself to be yourself. You've always had what you needed: peace, stillness, love, clarity. They've been within you, just buried beneath the busyness. It's not about becoming someone else. This isn't about transforming into a perfect, peaceful monk. It's not about smiling through pain or pretending everything's fine. It's about becoming someone who's gentle with their mind, kind to their body, honest with their heart, present in their moment, grateful for the now, even if it's not forever. This isn't a blueprint, it's a returning, a coming home. Happiness is a practice, not a personality. Some people think happiness is something you either have or you don't. Not true. Happiness is a practice. You choose to slow down. You choose to stop clinging. You choose to be here. You choose to forgive, to release, to breathe. You choose to find beauty in the ordinary. And on some days, that choice will be easy. On other days, it will feel impossible. But you always get to try again. You always get to return. Let me leave you. With this one day, you'll wake up and realize you're not chasing anymore. You're not striving so hard to prove something. You're just living. And it feels light. Software quietly beautiful. You'll notice the sky. You'll smile at nothing. You'll breathe deeper. And you'll whisper to yourself, so, this is happiness. Not loud, not grand, not perfect, but real. And finally, yours. Final words, your next step is a gentle one. So what now? Maybe just this. Drink a glass of water slowly. Watch the sun for 1 full minute. Call someone without a reason. Write down one thing that feels enough. Forgive yourself for everything. Let the journey be soft. Let your happiness be small at first. It grows. And so do you. You're not lost. You're waking up. And the life you were hoping to find, you're already in it.